Hello, everyone. This is Aspie, and you're watching The Incredible Aspie. So, I just decided, it's been a while since I've uploaded something to this channel, so I might as well hop on here and just talk to you about something that's been on my mind for ever, to be honest with you. Do any of you remember the Skeptics? Go all the way back to 2015. I still don't really know how to define how that whole era of YouTube went. It was actually, if you look at it compared to the other parts of YouTube, it was pretty small part, but it was also pretty big in sort of its implications. Because I remember that in 2015 there were a bunch of channels that were started up, usually atheist or left-wing channels. Most of these channels started out with people dabbing on, Christianity and religion and things on these lines. But then it eventually melded into, going up against extreme political ideology, mostly of the left-wing variety. Stuff like, multiple genders and all this stuff which everybody made fun of back in the day, race hustlers, gender benders, people who all of this crazy stuff, which was starting to it was almost kind of like flat Earth. It was feminism was the big one. Excuse me. Feminism was the big one, which everybody was going against. Because feminists, third wave, believed in some pretty wacky ass stuff. So they all started pretty much just debunking this stuff, making videos about it, mocking it, making fun of it, debunking it. And there's a few channels which I remember. You'll all remember these. Some of them are still pretty active. Sargon of Akkad, Kraut and Tea, now he's just Kraut. Naked Ape, he's gone. He's been gone for a long time. I don't know where he is. I've always thought maybe one day I would just run into him by accident. But, what's another one? That Andy Worski. Who else? He came sort of on the later half. He sort of saw a trend and hopped on it and became pretty famous pretty quick. But we can talk about that later. Thunderfoot. Haven't seen him in a very long time. Who was that other girl? Aiden Paladin. A lot of different, and a whole bunch of other smaller ones, which I cannot. Spinosaurus, yeah, that was another big one. Didn't really watch a lot of him, but yeah, that was a crazy time on YouTube, and there was sort of a small alliance between the left and the sort of moderate right, but obviously when you have such, conflicting political ideologies, you can only maintain the alliance so much, because it's only so long that you can dab on people for believing in 3,000 genders. It eventually gets old. It eventually gets old at some point, and it just, everybody started turning in on one another, and it became sort of feedback loop where it was self-destruction. People got views from dabbing on and exposing other YouTubers. Now, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes, but it's very easy to make a video, breaking somebody down and making them seem like a terrible human being. Not to say that some of these individuals weren't, bad hombres, because many of them actually were, But obviously, when you get political ideology involved, it can be pretty much political. YouTube was just a giant mess. It can become one big giant cluster F. People, screaming and yelling at each other for the smallest reasons, People going at each other's throats for views and clicks. But, that's how the world goes, It turns out sometimes the enemy of my enemy isn't my friend. You can only hold that alliance for so long until everything falls apart. And yeah, I remember, I can't really remember where the era ended. It either ended with the mass cancellation of Kraut and Tea, or the sort of breakdown of Worski, because the Andy Worski show and the whole Blood sports thing, that seemed to be the whole catalyst behind this. Oh yeah, another big one, Mr. Medicare. He was a big one in that group too. And near the end, he was really known for mocking it or being against it. But Mr. Medicare, he was, whatever you think about him, he was a pretty entertaining individual. And sometimes you got to separate the content from the man. I don't know him personally. He may be the most friendly person in real life. All I know is he was a massive shit poster. I know that. But yeah, the Kraut and T era, that was insane. They pretty much canceled him for, if I remember, for finding public information on that guy, Coach Red Pill, and he left for a while, but in the end, the sort of, I guess, that alt-right side of YouTube, like Brave and Ruin and all those people, they either disappeared or they pretty much self-imploded. That side of YouTube self-imploded, and Kraut just kind of walked back from the ashes. Now, apparently Kraut thinks I'm one of the people who is the big cancelers. I didn't really have much to do with it at all. I was just a guy on the sidelines. I mean, he was just... I didn't really have anything to do with it. I was pretty much, duped like everybody else. Everything Kraut, from the look of it, was looking at was just public knowledge, and he was just compiling it, And I guess it looked sketchy at the time, but it's been like 7 or 8 years since that happened, so I really couldn't care less about it. Kraut always seemed to me like some, I used to try. There was a time in my YouTube career where I was trying to network out and was bothering other YouTubers, and Kraut was one of the people who I was trying to go after pretty hard, and eventually I gave up, and I'm glad I did. The guy seems like he has a really bad temper, and I don't like being around people where I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around them. So that's a kind of a good thing. Still like his content though. That was pretty. He makes some pretty high quality content with the country balls and everything. Although you do see people in the comments, correcting him on a whole bunch of different mistakes he made, or at least their opinion on some mistakes they made. Obviously, when you're talking about history that is tied into politics, a lot of people can have differing opinions on certain things that happened, especially when there's not concrete evidence going either way. A lot of speculation and a lot of people fighting. But, besides that, I don't know. I remember the one guy who I went after the hardest was Naked Ape. Yeah, that was a big mistake on my part. I don't know why I went so hard at that guy. I guess something about his content really sort of, and I let myself become a lolcow at that time, and thankfully everything is gone. Every single video of my interaction with him, the Kumite, which I was embarrassingly on's gone. It's all gone. So yeah, he can't even. It seems like just yesterday that all happened, even though it's been 7, 8, 6 years since it happened. So I'm glad that all that stuff disappeared off the internet. That would have been a real what's the word for it? Anxiety trip. Somebody finding that. But anywho, yeah, that's just wanted to talk about it. I kind of left political YouTube after that. It was kind of around the time where I gave up being a political science major in college. I went from being a dual major in music and political science to being a dual major in music and accounting. Turns out accounting was definitely worth it, because you definitely make a lot more money doing that than political science. A whole bunch of drama and headache and not a lot of money. So yeah, sold out for money. I mean, I still vote. I still watch political content, because you can't be completely in the dark. If you don't pay attention to politics, you're eventually going to, that's how totalitarian regimes start. So you got to pay attention. Yeah, that, let's talk about Andy Worski for a while. What a character that guy was, right? I mean, of course, that there's entire documentaries about the guy, about how unstable he was, how self-destructive he was, and I think he's still on YouTube in sort of a what's the word for it? He doesn't really have his own channel. He has a channel called Kino Casino or something, where he is with this other guy, and all they really do the whole time is dunk on Ethan Ralph, who, the leader of the Kill Stream, who hasn't really been really big in a very long time. So, well, is he still big? I forget. I might want to look that up. Anywho, it was a really crazy time, and I got to watch all of it. Didn't know really half of what was going on a lot of the time, but I still sort of kind of watched it. Tried to get myself involved a little bit. When you don't know anything, you can't really do anything, I've always been the type of person where if I don't know what's going on, I just can't really pay attention. So I just never really became involved in it. Yeah, but it was definitely a crazy time. Still like some of the creators, though. Haven't watched Blair White in a while. I wonder how she's doing. Yeah, she still making her content, though. Hunter Avalone became a lefty, though. That's hilarious. I had a feeling like this. You watch these like young conservatives, and they you think that you think to yourself that this guy's going to change his mind one day. This kid is going to eventually go from a conservative as a young kid to some hardcore lefty. I mean, I don't know if I would call Hunter Avalone a hardcore lefty now, but he's definitely close. He gave up Christianity, was married to this one girl, had 2 kids. She cheated on him. She kind of looked like a thought, to be honest with you. I know they say you shouldn't judge a book by this cover, but the cover was see-through and you could see through the contents. So yeah, that ended up being a crazy thing. And also there was a whole thing after he divorced his wife with his girlfriend. His girlfriend's ex-boyfriend tried to kill her, but he ended up getting shot by the cops. I saw the video. It's, Hunter's Avalone's part of that generation where, if something tragic happens in your life, what the first thing you should do? Grab out your phone and start recording, because this is going to make some great content. It's crazy. I was never really comfortable be honest with you, I was never super comfortable making videos. I always felt like I was one tongue slip away from being thrown into the meat grinder, so it just became a hellhole. But not a lot of people are going to watch this, so I don't really care what happens. Anywho, I'm going to stop babbling to you guys and start making more music. That's what I want to do. I have a boring job that pays well, so I've got to spend my time doing something other than golf. I got really into golf and nearly became a scratch golfer, but the weather sort of had other plans. It's kind of hard to find a good time to golf in January, especially when work ends at 5 and all the golf courses close at 5. So can't really get any practice in until the weekend comes. Anywho, it was nice talking to you guys. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.